Welcome to the Assault Rifles of Into the Radius for update 2.4. In this video, I'll be looking at each rifle stat for stat while comparing and contrasting each weapon's strengths and weaknesses. I'd like to say off rip that every rifle in this game is capable of taking you to late game. It's just that some are going to do it way easier than others. So please don't take personal offense when I absolutely dog on your favorite gun. Let's begin the guide by talking about ammo. Now, we have 13 assault rifles scattered across 5 different calibers. But just like all the other ammo types in the game, if AP is an option, it's always the best choice. For the uninitiated, the way armor works in Into the Radius is as follows. Each bullet has a set value for damage and will either hit and deal that damage or not hit and do 0 damage. So long story short, doing some basic binomial math shows that AP for every caliber is the best choice of ammo. For 7.62x51 though, you'll be using FMJ as there is no AP option. And just as a little side note, 9x39 is different as its AP has a 97% chance to pen while FMJ has an 85%. So if you're cheap, you can buy FMJ, but just for some peace of mind, I always buy AP. With ammo sorted, let's get into some general tips. To make life a whole lot easier for you in the Radius, you want to be using suppressors on all your guns. Whenever you shoot an unsuppressed gun, any enemy within like 50 meters just swarms you. So by using a suppressor, you go from fighting swarms of enemies to just one at a time. The only downside to suppressors is that they eat your money because they just need to be constantly repaired, which is fine if you're rich, but if you aren't, just know that you probably don't even need one until like maybe factory, but you most certainly need one in the armored dungeon that is Kolkoz. Secondly, when buying a gun, I would highly recommend adding a laser to it, as some of the gun and sight combinations are misaligned. A laser will always point where the bullets are going, regardless of what the optic is showing. It's a little annoying, but I found that the Spectre 4X is always bang on the money for every gun. And finally, if you're having trouble aiming at medium to long ranges, go into settings and enable virtual stock. Or just do what people do in real life and sit down, lay down, or like lean on your bed or something. Just anything that'll help hold your arms still. Now, onto the peanut butter and jelly of this video, the breakdown and tier list of each gun. I'm going to break things up into security levels because I think you'll begin to notice a trend. Let's start with security level 2. And here we have the SKS. As it's the only rifle at level 2, it just wins by default. The SKS is a semi-auto rifle that has the highest accuracy and muzzle velocity at security level 2 by a long shot. So, if you wanted a medium to long range gun at level 2, the SKS is your best option. Then when you hit security level 3, you can keep the SKS and buy the 30 bangers for it. But I know personally I'd rather get an upgrade, because at security level 3, we get the widest selection of rifles in the game. We have the choice between 4 AKs, the AUG, and the M4. Now between these 6 rifles, I'd recommend you buy whatever looks the coolest, because at the end of the day, aesthetic trumps all stats. And the numbers can back this claim up. Besides from the AK-74U, all the rifles have give or take the same accuracy, damage per shot, and damage per dollar, while all weighing within less than a kilo of one another. The only major differences are how loud each gun is, their muzzle velocities, their costs, and their reliabilities. Now, you should definitely be running your guns suppressed, so loudness doesn't really matter. And unless you're planning on hitting running mimics from over 100 meters away, velocity doesn't matter either. Finally, as long as you maintain your guns, which you should, reliability doesn't matter at all. So at the end of the day, I kind of like what the devs have done here. To avoid players making a bad decision and regretting their purchase, they just made all the choices viable. However, as a hyper virgin degenerate gamer,
Swag on him.
Let's go! I can nitpick and notice that the AUG has by far the best muzzle velocity of all the rifles, and would say it's my pick for security level 3.
Fuck, this thing fucks.
But generally speaking, it is not game changing at all. Just to summarize the minor degenerate stat differences though, the AK-74U has the lowest accuracy of the rifles, but is also the cheapest. So if you decide to buy the accuracy upgrade, you'll put the gun on par with the other rifles while being cheaper and more CQC orientated. The AUG has the highest muzzle velocity out of the rifles, but also weighs the most. The M4 is definitely the most customizable as it comes with 4 rail B mounts fresh off the shop. And finally, the AKs are give or take almost the same. However, the 74M is definitely the best stat for stat. The only problem is that it just costs a shitload. But if you have AP rounds, you should have no problems dropping enemies late game with any of these rifles, so just buy whatever you like. Now, we move on to security level 4, and this is where the fun begins. When buying a level 4 rifle, you have pretty much 2 choices between either the 9x39 or 7.62x51 rifles. As some of us may already know, 9x39 is a subsonic cartridge, meaning these bullets fly really slow. No matter what 9x39 gun you buy, you are going to have to aim up quite a bit.
Oh my god, I hit him. Nah.
Both the AS Val and VSS is integrally suppressed, which means that you're going to save a boatload of cash on repairing suppressors, arguably making these two guns some of the best in the game because of how much money you're going to save in the long run. However, the Groza comes with a GL. So in monkey terms, the VSS is the highest damaging 9x39 rifle and is semi-auto. The AS Val has a little less damage and accuracy, but comes full auto. Then you have the Groza. Now listen, after buying the accuracy upgrade for the Groza, it is identical to the Val, but weighs 2.4 kilos more than it because of the grenade launcher. So in terms of balance, that makes sense. Weighing more because of the GL is fine, as long as you can actually fucking hit something with it.
Oh, that's so off.
Now sometimes the nades fly straight like an arrow, while other times they curve like an adult film star's glizzy.
Can't miss the last one, right?
So I only really use the nades for point blank blind fire. But I mean, the nades are relatively cheap, so you can just spam them if you want, but I find them just a little bit too unpredictable. The Groza isn't a bad gun. At the end of the day, it's just a heavier, unsuppressed Val with a cheeky little niche. In terms of 7.62x51 rifles, you have the choice between the FAL and the M14. The FAL is more of like a normal gun, as it does more damage than the 9x39 rifles and has a very good muzzle velocity. However, it doesn't come suppressed and weighs roughly 2 kilos more than them. So if you plan on putting a suppressor on it, which I'd recommend, it's going to be very heavy. But then, Big Daddy M14 enters the chat. Let's just skip the intro with this guy, everyone knows who he is. He's the highest damaging assault rifle in the game. He's literally doubling the Val's mere 60 damage per shot. Now, it may be semi-auto, it may be the loudest rifle in the game, it may be the least reliable rifle in the game, it may wear out the fastest out of all the rifles in the game, and it can't be suppressed. But who cares? The M14 is gonna make you feel like a god, pretty much one-tapping every enemy in the game with ease. But just know that anytime you shoot this thing, legitimately everything within render distance will descend onto your position. I was fighting in this compound in Kolkhoz, and motherfuckers from train station were coming to get me. So hopefully you can aim more, because if you can't, you are just dead. So as a recap, the Val and VSS are extremely lightweight and economically friendly guns. You're just gonna have to lob every single bullet you shoot. The Groza is just a heavier version of the Val with a GL slapped on it. Then we've got the 7.62x51 guns, which are pretty heavy, but are pretty much an all-round better pick for people who prefer a Call of Duty hit scan experience over a proper gentleman's battlefield experience. Finally, we've got the security level 5 guns. The only gun in this category is the Scar, and it's extremely OP.
Need I say more?
Which I see absolutely nothing wrong with. Security 5 is the end of the game, so why don't you just give everyone something fun to mess around with, right? It does mad damage, it has a good accuracy, a good velocity, blah blah blah. It's kind of like an ego without daddy issues. It just ticks all the boxes. The Scar's only problem is that it's mad expensive. Although, when comparing the Scar to any security level 4 gun, like the FAL for example, it makes the FAL look like shit. But then when you compare the FAL to a security level 3 gun, like the M4, it makes the M4 look like shit. And that's where I want to praise the devs. There is very good progression and balancing in this game. Each time you go up a security level, no matter what you are buying, it is going to be a straight upgrade from whatever you had before. So to sum this video up, buy whatever gun is the most aesthetically pleasing to your eyes, because being familiar with a gun makes life in the radius a whole lot easier and enjoyable. Personally, I'm a VSS kind of guy because I like its 97% pen chance. I also find it extremely satisfying when you hit a perfect lobbed headshot with the VSS. It just makes the game so fun.
Ooh.
And that's it from me. Thank you all for watching. For anyone who cares about where I've been, there's a link in the top of the description explaining where I was. For those who don't, just go floss your teeth or something. I hope you all have a stellar day, night, or evening as you continue to play golf with your VSS shots. See yous.